Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 33, Activities of Lord Kapila. So we are in the section where we are discussing activities of Devahūti after Kapila Muni completed his instructions and left to the forest. So we are at text 23. ध्यायति भगवत रूपम यदाह ध्यान गोचरम सूत प्रसन्न वदनम समस्त व्यस्त चिंतया. Translation.
Thereafter, having heard with great eagerness and in all detail from her son, Kapiladeva, the eternally smiling personality of Godhead, Devahūti began to meditate constantly upon the Vishnu form of the Supreme Lord.
So, this is how now Devahūti, having heard with great eagerness, she began Bhagavat Rupa Dhyayan. And how is the Rupa of Bhagavat? Prasanna Vadanam. Right. And she began with Samasta Vyasta Chintaya. Chinta, all her mind was fully focused. With great eagerness, she began to do Dhyana Gocharam on the Supreme Lord, Prasanna Vadanam. Text 24-25. Bhakti Pravaha Yogena Vairagyena Baliyasa Yuktanushtana Jatena Jnanena Brahma Hetuna Vishuddhena Tadatmanam Atmana Vishwato Mukham Svanubuddhya Tiro Bhuta Maya Guna Visheshanam. Translation.
Translation: she did so with serious engagement in devotional service. Because she was strong in renunciation, she accepted only the necessities of the body. She became situated in knowledge due to realization of the absolute truth. Her heart became purified. She became fully absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all misgivings due to the modes of material nature disappeared. Hare Krishna.
This is Bhagavad Bhakti of Devahūti. Bhakti Pravaha Yogena. What a beautiful word it is. Bhakti Pravaha. Relentless engagement in devotional service. So this, yesterday we have seen Guna Pravaha. Now this is Bhakti Pravaha. Right. Bhagavat Pravaha. So this is Bhakti Pravaha Yogena. Vairagyena Baliyasa. Very strong in renunciation. Then Yukta Anusthana Jatena Jnanena Brahma Hetuna. Vishuddhena Tadatmanam Atmana Vishwato Mukham Svanubuddhya. Strong in renunciation, accepted only the necessities of the body, situated in knowledge, her heart became purified, she was fully absorbed in meditation, and thus, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, all the misgivings due to the modes of material nature, they completely disappeared for Devahūti. Text 26. Brahmani Vastita Mati Bhagavati Atma Samshraye Nivritta Jiva Apatitvat Kshinaklesh aptanivritti. Translation.
Her mind became completely engaged in Supreme Lord, and she automatically realized the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman. As a Brahman realized soul, she was freed from the designations of the materialistic concept of life. Thus, all material pangs disappeared, and she attained transcendental bliss. Purport. The previous verse states that Devahūti was already conversant with the absolute truth. It may be questioned why she was meditating. The explanation is that when one is theoretically discusses the absolute truth, he becomes situated in the impersonal concept of the absolute truth. Similarly, when one seriously discusses the subject matter of the form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes situated in meditation on him. If one has complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord, then knowledge of the impersonal Brahman is automatically realized. The absolute truth is realized by the knower according to three different angles of vision, namely impersonal Brahman, localized supersoul, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, if one is situated in knowledge of the Supreme Person, this implies that one is already situated in the concept of the Supersoul and impersonal Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. This means that unless one is freed from the material entanglement and situated in Brahman, there is no question of entering into the understanding of devotional service or engaging in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. One who is engaged in devotional service to Kṛṣṇa is understood to be already realized in the Brahman concept of life because transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead includes knowledge of Brahman. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishthānam. The concept of the personality of Godhead does not depend on Brahman. The Vishnu Purana also confirms that one who has taken shelter of all auspicious Supreme Lord has already situated in the understanding of Brahman. In other words, one who is Vaishnava is already a Brahmana.
Yeah, it's a long purport. We will read the section. Her mind became completely engaged, and thus she automatically realized the impersonal Brahman. And thus, being freed from the designations of the materialistic concept of life, all material pangs disappeared, and she attained transcendental bliss. Very, very similar verses which are, in the series of Nashta Prayeshu. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayasya chetayeterana vidhim sthitam sattve prasidati evam prasanna manaso. So this is the natural sequence of performing devotional service. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Devahūti was already conversant with absolute truth. Then why she was meditating? And then Prabhupada says that when one theoretically discusses the absolute truth, one becomes situated in impersonal Brahman. Whereas one is discussing the form of the Lord, qualities, pastimes, guna, rupa, lila of the Supreme Lord, one will be situated in the platform of understanding Bhagavan. And as such, the absolute truth can be realized in three phases. Vadanti tat tattva vidas, tattvam yajnanam advayam, brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. And when one is realizing Paramatma, one automatically realizes the previous one, Brahman. And when one realizes Bhagavan feature of the Lord, one will automatically realize Paramatma and Brahman feature also. Because Brahman feature is included in Bhagavan feature. Correct. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi pratisthāham. And Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kangshati. And when one is engaged like that, one will obtain devotional service. And vice versa, when one is engaged in devotional service, one will automatically as considered to be realized Brahman. Now, this is something very amazing. This vice versa may not always work in the material realm, but in the spiritual realm, it naturally works. When one is engaged in devotional service, all previous qualifications will be taken care by the potency of devotional service. Correct. And therefore, the best way to transcend the modes of the material nature is to be constantly engaged in devotional service as it was performed by Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Today is disappearance day of Namacharya Haridas Thakur, and ISKCON world over celebrates World Holy Name Day. That he came from a particular background but fully dedicated himself to chanting the holy names of the Lord. Namacharya Thakur, Haridas Thakur, was considered as he's actually Brahma incarnated and showing, playing very significant role in the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Further, Srila Prabhupada quotes Vishnu Puran, and where one has taken shelter of all auspicious Supreme Lord is already situated in Brahman. And that in short, what it means is when one is a Vaishnava, he is automatically already a Brahmana. Yeah, please continue.
Another significant point in this verse is that one has to observe the prescribed rules and regulations. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yuktahara Viharasya. When one engages in devotional service in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, he still has to eat, sleep, defend, and med because these are necessities of the body. But he performs such activities in a regulated way. He has to eat Krishna Prasad. He has to sleep according to regulative principles. The principle is to reduce the duration of sleep and to reduce eating, taking only what is needed to keep the body fit. In short, the goal is spiritual advancement, not sense gratification. Similarly, sensual life must be reduced. Sensual life is meant only for begetting Krishna conscious children. Otherwise, there is no necessity for sensual life. Nothing is prohibited, but everything is made yukta, regulated, with the higher purpose always in mind. By following all these rules and regulations of living, one becomes purified and all misconceptions due to ignorance become nil. It is specifically mentioned here that the causes of material entanglement are completely vanquished. The Sanskrit statement Anartha Nivritti indicates that this body is unwanted. We are spirit soul, and there was never any need of this material body. But because we wanted to enjoy the material body, we have this body through the material energy under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as we are re-established in our original position of servitorship to the Supreme Lord, we begin to forget the necessities of the body, and at last we forget the body. Sometimes in a dream, we get a particular type of body with which to work in the dream. I may dream that I am flying in the sky or that I have gone into the forest or some unknown place. But as soon as I am awake, I forget all these bodies. Similarly, when one is Krishna conscious, fully devoted, he forgets all his changes of body. We are always changing bodies, beginning at birth from the womb of our mother. But when we are awakened to Krishna consciousness, we forget all these bodies. The bodily necessities become secondary. For the primary necessity is the engagement of the soul in real spiritual life. The activities of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness are the cause of our being situated in transcendence. The words Bhagavati Atma Samshraye denote the personality of Godhead as the supreme soul or the soul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bijam Mam Sarvabhutanam. I am the seed of all entities. By taking shelter of the Supreme Being, by the process of devotional service, one becomes fully situated in the concept of the personality of Godhead. As described by Kapila, Mad Guna Shruti Matrena. One who is fully Krishna conscious, situated in the personality of Godhead, is immediately saturated with love of God as soon as he hears about the transcendental qualities of the Lord.
Yeah, so we will again take a read in the section. Next, Srila Prabhupada explains another point is that one has to observe the prescribed rules and regulations. So the gross rules and regulations, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And then slowly within the gross rules, in the broader purview of the gross rules, one have to accept the rules and regulations in a more subtler fashion. And what is the more subtler rules? These rules are Yukta Ahara Viharasya, Yukta Chestasya Karmasu, Yukta Swapnavabodhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukkha. That one has to eat, sleep, defend, and met according to the necessities of the body, and it is to be regulated. So eating, one eats only Krishna Prasad. In sleeping, one is supposed to have the regulated sleep, and Srila Prabhupada says 6 hours of good sleep, generally recommended between 9:30 to 3:30 is the slot for a devotee. 10 to 4 is another slot. And then according to time, place, circumstances, if somebody is working in second shift, third shift, so on and so forth. But, the night sleep, it is not any 6 hours of the day, as far as possible. Again, we have certain devotees who are working in Japanese client and their day begins at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Cycle will be slightly different there. But the normal course of action, one should always gravitate towards balance. Yukta ahara viharasya. Right. The principle is to reduce the duration of sleep and progressively reducing the duration of eating, and take only whatever is necessary to keep the body fit. And similarly, the life of the sensual life, which is meant for begetting the Krishna conscious children. So Srila Prabhupada says, nothing is to be rejected per se, but everything is to be engaged, regulated with higher purpose in one's life. Further, Srila Prabhupada describes what is anartha nivritti. So till now, anartha nivritti we know is, there are so many anarthas like kama, krodha, mada, moha, matsara. But all these are coming to the soul because the soul has body, right? And because of the body, there are so many anarthas. So the ultimate anartha nivritti is getting rid of the body. Getting rid of the body not in any suicidal way, that one simply commits suicide and body is gone. No, that may only gross body is gone and subtle body always remains. So we purify the subtle body, mana, buddhi, ahankar, and progressively, dissolve the gross body by engaging in service of the Supreme Lord, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Right? This is the meaning of. So while we have the body, there should be Artha Pravritti. Artha Pravritti means engaging the body in some meaningful devotional activity. And later, the same body, we should move towards Anartha Nivritti, that one is getting detached from the body and one should forget the, progressively, age appropriate, as we age on and we are coming close to closing our activities in this body. I mean, when we are becoming old and invalid and coming close to the death in a very gross and raw terms, one should begin to forget the necessities of the body, and at last one will forget one's body. Somebody will say, how it is possible to forget body? Srila Prabhupada says it is a day in, day out experience. Nothing very difficult. Every time, day in, day out, we are forgetting our bodies. For example, in a dream. When we are in a dream, we suddenly assume some different type of a body. And, the deeper studies, they have revealed that when actually one is in a dream, the soul travels out of the existing body and is only remotely controlling the body. Right? And the soul is actually takes on the another body, is running to the forest, that typical example we have. Or any other example, somebody is just flying from, that Ahmedabad to London flight in the dreamy body. And then suddenly that aeroplane crashes, one is, and then suddenly one gets up to realize, oh, he's in the bed, he's sleeping and simply dreaming about. But he had left his body, he had obtained another body. But when the dream is over, one gets up, one gets to the regular course of activities, and one completely forgets that dreamy body. Right? So forgetting the body is not new for the soul. The soul has forgotten unlimited number of bodies till now. Day in, day out, the soul has forgotten so many bodies. Correct? So similarly now, this body also one has to forget, in the sense one has to engage the body in the service of the Supreme Lord. Correct? And this is called as Artha Pravritti and Anartha Nivritti. So when one is awakened to Krishna consciousness, we begin to forget all these different types of bodies. And this is the activity of devotional service. Bhagavati Atma Samshraye. The Supreme Lord is the soul of everyone. Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the soul of seed of all the living entities. And it is very naturally when the living entity thinks about the Supreme Lord, Mad Guna Shruti Matrena, he becomes fully Krishna conscious and then immediately situated with love of God as soon as he hears about the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord. So this is about forgetting, this is about Anartha Nivritti, Srila Prabhupada mentions. Yeah, please continue.
Devahūti was fully instructed by her son, Kapiladeva, on how to concentrate her mind on the Vishnu form in full detail. Following the instructions of her son in the matter of devotional service, she contemplated the form of the Lord within herself with great devotional love. That is the perfection of Brahman realization or the mystic yoga system or devotional service. At the ultimate issue, when one is fully absorbed in thought of the Supreme Lord and meditates on Him constantly, that is the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita confirms that one who is always absorbed in such a way is to be considered the topmost yogi. The real purpose of all processes of transcendental realization, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, is to arrive at the point of devotional service. If one endeavors simply to achieve knowledge of the Absolute Truth or the Super Soul, but has no devotional service, he labors without gaining the real result. This is compared to beating the husks of wheat after the grains have already been removed. Unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be the ultimate goal, it is valueless simply to speculate or perform mystic yoga practice. In the Ashtanga Yoga system, the seventh stage of perfection is dhyana. This dhyana is the third stage in devotional service. There are 9 stages of devotional service. The first is hearing, and then comes chanting, and then contemplating. By executing devotional service, therefore, one automatically becomes an expert jnani and an expert yogi. In other words, jnana and yoga are different preliminary stages of devotional service. Devahūti was expert in accepting the real substance. She contemplated the form of Vishnu in detail as advised by her smiling son Kapiladeva. At the same time, she was thinking of Kapiladeva, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore she completely perfected her austerities, penances, and transcendental realization. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada further explains that Devahūti was fully instructed by her son Kapiladev on how to concentrate her mind on the form of the Vishnu. We have seen this very elaborate instructions that how one should begin with the lotus feet of the Lord. In fact, the two toenails of the Lord, then the toes, and then lotus feet, and the leg of the Lord, and then thighs of the Lord, nabi of the Lord, and slowly, in great meditation, one should come to the lotus face of the Supreme Lord, his beautiful smile, his jasmine bud like teeth, his eyebrows, the amazing face. And this is the complete contemplation was being taught to Devahūti by her son, Kapila Muni. And thus she began to contemplate on the Lord with great transcendental love. Because who is the Lord? He is her son, Kapila Muni. She has just raised the son. She is being always with the son. And the son only instructed and extremely fortunate position of Devahūti. So she began to, and then automatically she attained the perfection in Brahman realization. In fact, such yogis who are perfectly concentrating, they are bhakti yogis. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matah. This is the 6.47, the concluding verse of Dhyana Yoga. And Lord concludes Dhyana Yoga by Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. Right? The topmost dhyani is actually devotee of the Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada gives mind-blowing comparison. Prabhupada says the real purpose of all processes of transcendental realization, like Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Sahaj Yoga, and there are Raj Yoga, and there are thousands of yogas. But the real purpose of all these yogas is come to the platform of devotional service. If one simply endeavors attaining empirical knowledge or attaining some meditation here and there without practically coming to the point of bhakti yoga, then it is shrama eva hi kevalam. It is simply beating the empty husk or chewing the chewed. Now here the point is there is a dhyana, and Srila Prabhupada says dhyana is the 7th stage of Ashtanga Yoga, of the 8 stages. Yama, Niyama, right? Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, then Dhyana. Correct. So dhyana is the 7th stage, but in devotional service, that is the 3rd stage. Right. So what is the seventh stage in Ashtanga Yoga? It's very, very preliminary stage in devotional service. That is even the first, not even reaching the first half, right? Not even the fourth stage. It is the third of 9 stages of devotional service, 1/3. So 7/8 of Dhyana Yoga is 3/9 of Bhakti Yoga. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So this is the Dhyana Yoga. And thus by executing devotional service, one becomes expert Jnani and expert Yogi. What amazing point this is. And thus Dhyana Yoga and Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, they are already naturally included in Bhakti Yoga. Devotee was expert in accepting the real substance. She contemplated on the form of Vishnu, Prasanna Vadanam, the smiling, her own smiling son, Kapila Muni, and always constantly thinking of her own son Kapila. She completely perfected her life, austerities, penances, and transcendental realization. So, Srila Prabhupada writes a long purport to this. Very amazing, amazing shloka and amazing purport. Text 27. Nityaruಢ samadhitvat paravritta gunabhrama nasasmar tadatmanam swapne drishtam ivotthitoha. Translation.
Translation: situated in eternal trance and freed from illusion impelled by the modes of material nature, she forgot her material body, just as one forgets his different bodies in a dream. Purport: a great Vaishnava said that he who has no remembrance of his body is not bound to material existence. As long as we are conscious of our bodily existence, it is to be understood that we are living conditionally under the three modes of material nature. When one forgets his bodily existence, his conditional material life is over. This forgetfulness is actually possible when we engage our senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the conditional stage, one engages his senses as a member of family or as a member of society or country. But when one forgets all such memberships in material circumstances and realizes that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, that is actual forgetfulness of material existence. This forgetfulness actually occurs when one renders service unto the Lord. A devotee no longer works with the body for sense gratification, with family, society, country, humanity, and so on. He simply works for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, that is a perfect Krishna consciousness. A devotee always merges in transcendental happiness and therefore he has no experience of material distresses. The transcendental happiness is called as eternal bliss. According to the opinion of devotees, constant remembrance of the Supreme Lord is called samadhi or trance. If one is constantly in trance, there is no possibility of his being. Prabhuji, can you move it forward a little bit?
Should I continue?
Prabhuji, I'm not able to read. It's not
Let's
coming
continue.
forward.
Okay. If one is constantly in trance, there is no possibility of his being attacked or even touched by the modes of material nature. As soon as one is freed from the contamination of the three material modes, he no longer has to take birth to transmigrate from one form to another in this material world. Hare Krishna.
Situated in eternal trance, Nityaruಢ samadhitvat. So Nitya, eternal, Arudha samadhitvat. Then she is freed from the illusion and thus completely forgot her material body, just like Swapne Drishtam Ivottita. Just like one forgets one's body in the dream, upon waking up, she forgot her material body. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that when one is beyond the remembrance of the body, then actually one is considered to be liberated. And because in a conditioned state, one is constantly thinking he is the body, and he will be always tormented by ahar, nidra, bhaya, ityadi, and thus he is living conditionally. But to eternal life means, or the samadhi life means there is no remembrance of one is body. And this is not possible by any artificial means. This is possible by engaging the body, engaging the senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. Currently, our senses are engaged. They are engaged in service of society, friendship, love, family, so on and so forth, and which is important at this particular stage of life. But progressively, one has to purify one's senses, yukta, and one should purify one's activities, and thus one will be engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Bhakti-yoga is so amazing that even while engaged in the current activities, one can actually be, performing devotional activities by that connection with the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada says, further here, a devotee always merges in the transcendental happiness, and he has no experience of the material distress. This is, the beauty of devotional service. That because of magna chittaha, shoche tatho, vimukha chetasa indriyarthan, that one is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then will be naturally transcendental, naturally transcend the material suffering or duality. It is not that he will not come across material suffering or there will be no duality, but impact of those material suffering and duality will be far different on a devotee and far lesser on a devotee than the any other person who has no clue of devotional service. And this is how Srila Prabhupada very beautifully concludes this purport. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Once again, today is Namacharya Haridas Thakur disappearance day. Very, very auspicious day. To chant one's round, to increase one's rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to get more taste in devotional service and especially chanting the holy names, we all should pray to Namacharya Haridas Thakur to award the drop of mercy and taste in the holy name that he had and preached with great vigor. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.